Welcome back to Absolute Nana, the series about things in. Look, I really want to do Stainless. I think he's fun and a really interesting operator to talk about. But seeing we're working up to Nasty here, we do need to do all the artificers, and I just can't keep putting off the first iteration of this class. Look, I really don't want to talk about Windshit, but we need to get this over with. So, Windflit, he's bad. Considering this is our fourth video on Artificers now, you should know the spiel, and if you don't, go watch the Catherine video, because I think that's frankly the best Artificer video I have done so far. Maybe the Stainless video will end up better than that, but we'll see. Anyway, Windshit's devices are called reliable batteries, because yes, we are jumping into the talent. And also, yes, this name of the device is just a load of fucking horseshit, because as per his talent, his devices only last 30 seconds, so very reliable indeed. He's only allowed to have 2 deployed at once with his base carry capacity of 3, and all it does is apply a tiny amount of attack buff out of 15%, 20% if you get the mod 3, which is, yes, still worth it for the mod 1 at least, because mod X is always good value. But this is why I would call him the Swire of Artificers, and somehow he's worse. Like, yes, it's 5% more than Swire at base, and while he has Persuader global range, knowing he's limited to buffing 2 units at once for 30 seconds per device, but these devices only buff supporters and casters. Look, I love Nicheknights, and I like it when we design operators to fit into Nicheknights. I would even go out on a limb and say the future of buff-focused subclasses like Instructors, Standard Bearers, and Artificers would be in Nicheknights. So on paper, I should be supportive of this application, but this isn't it. For me, it's the fact that he only buffs 2 classes of operators that makes it terrible and very restrictive compared to, let's say, Pallas, who I think is the gold standard for Nicheknight buffers. Yes, you heard me, Super, you're wrong on declaring her the most mediocre 6-star that exists. Anyway, she buffs Minosknights mainly, but a lot of her skills and talents do work with non-Minosknight members, making her usable for people who don't want to lock themselves in to the Minosknights niche, but are a fan of her in general. Just because you are made for a Nicheknight doesn't mean you should be locked into it, basically. Windflit is not only locking himself into a Nicheknight, he's also supporting a niche he can't even be in with Caster Knights. Like, sure, the nature of Nicheknights means he can apply himself in other niches outside support knights, and there is casters in the other 3 niches I can think of he could fit in, that being Nail Knights, Columbia Knights, and Pyro Knights, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still a little too restrictive. But okay, maybe his skills are the reason why he's like this. His skills are that good, he needs to be hampered like this, so what does his skills do? His S1 Machine Report is an overcharging, charge-storing crit skill because offensive artificers. You didn't see it, but I was doing jazz hands. It's actually not that terrible, and I prefer it in certain situations. I mean, it's terrible, but not like dumpster fire bad, more like trash can fire bad. But the details. Basically, he will consume a charge to do an AoE splash in the 8 tiles around him, doing boosted damage and giving all allies with reliable batteries a single SP. But okay, what's its stats? Well, aside from the abysmal 1 SP gain, it's like 109% crit with a 7-second charge time, and if you want to fuck around and find out, you can also use the reliable batteries on himself, so you have a Persuader Chongyu talent, so it's closer to 6 seconds charge while he buries himself. It also has the usual mastery stuff for charge crit skills like this, with M1 giving you second charge and M3 giving you a single SP discount on top of making the numbers go up. But you shouldn't be mastering the skill. In fact, you shouldn't be mastering any of his skills, but especially not this one, because no device recovery. Someone like Catherine can get away with this because her devices have perma uptime, but Windflit doesn't have that, nor does he have the same benefits as Alana's S1, where its main use is going to be applying its buff to operators like, let's say, a brawler or a marksman. This is a generic crit skill that generates SP very badly, and there's way better SP generation options in his category, such as Warfarin, who can also do damage buffing better. Not even my usual crutch argument of Persuader global range is going to be enough to forgive how bad this skill is in combination with her S1. So what's my crutch for saying it's only trash fart can fire bad? IS. Yes, really, because it's like whenever I do the random lineup in IS, I get the temp recruitment on a supporter ticket, and he's always the 5-star temp recruit supporter. So my opinion on him is possibly diluted with Stockholm Syndrome. But yeah, it's not a bad skill to use early on in like an IS run, but I would still recommend ditching him as soon as you get a better option. Also, no maths, because I only did the bare minimum for this video, which is E1 level 1, because I hate him and I refuse to give him any more of my resources. His S2 energy report commits all the carnal sins, so let's just run this thing down. First, it's a flat 50 SP cost skill with only 15-second uptime across all skills and masteries, so gross, but not only does it have a talent multiplier that only reaches 2x at M3, and if that wasn't enough, it increases his attack intervals and gives him an outright attack boost in return, I guess. And I didn't bother running the numbers because E1 level 1, he isn't getting anything anymore out of me. As a fun fact, the wiki doesn't even bother figuring out how big the attack interval increase was for him either, because no one likes this man. If the people who maintain the wiki can't be fucked, why should I be fucked doing maths? Honestly, I can't blame them for not wanting to put in the effort to check, because this skill is so bad. Yes, it recovers devices, but there's just like better options. Like I would rather use Catherine S1 because while yes, it's a much weaker buff, even when both at M3 with mod 3, since Windflit can hit 40%, while Catherine is only MB at 15%, but also 15% to defense. The devices don't expire. It's constantly on as long as the barrier is being applied. You're applying barrier as well, which while giving you all the benefits of Modic's Artificers. Oh yeah, and you aren't just limiting yourself, you're having supporters and casters! Yes, it's unfair to compare him to a later edition, but fuck, it's sad, and I don't even, like him enough to coat him in honey, so the taste of shit is more tolerable, unlike Kichi-say, so fuck it, don't use the skill, and only use his S1 if you have no other choice in IS. Windflit bad, and I want all the resources I put into getting to E1 back, please. I think that's a statement we can get behind, but let's be honest, it's not a Roze Prelati view if I just point out obvious, with nothing controversial in it, as long as we ignore that stab I made at the Super Pallas video. But let's pretend I never said that for a second, and let's move on to the real reason why I wanted to do this video now, aside from needing to get this out of the way so we can talk about Nasty. Matsukiri is bad because they didn't learn their lessons from Windflit. Like, Matsukiri makes the same mistakes as Windflit by limiting himself to sporting only 2 classes, and both those classes aren't even his own in this case. He's purely designed to help putting out the 2 radar characters for him, his event of Hoshiguma and fucking Haruka, and I think that makes him a failure of a welfare. Yes, he isn't completely locked into his niche like Windflit because he still has his generic S1 and his S2 is giving him some survivability and generates a decent chunk of DP, but his talent still focuses on supporting supporters slash defenders, and you're losing out on half of his S2 value by not using it on those 2 classes being out on the field. In his immediate niches I can think of, Nicheknights only has both the Hoshis, Haruka, and Suganogi as people who can benefit from his use, and in Lupo Knights, it's only Penance and Horn. And yes, Horn is a Lupo. I generally thought she was a feline, but no, that's a Lupo. Minosknights is probably better, but it doesn't change the fact that he fell into the same pitfall as Windflit by limiting his uses like this. And I think it's extra of egregious because not only we did it for the second time, but we did it with a fucking welfare. Like, welfares are supposed to be the roster fillers for newer players who need a free option that rounds out their squads, and Matsukiri is not that. Unless that new player has somehow rolled a lot of defenders and supporters early on, they are not getting much value out of him, and even if they did, it's very unlikely they would be building him that soon compared to a more traditional DPS option like a caster or a guard. So he has next to little value in both early and late game accounts, as I think newer players are genuinely better supported by a 3-star Fang, and in like the late game rosters who are doing like Nicheknights for challenges, he isn't providing enough value to justify giving him a slot, since Minosknights definitely have better options. Nicheknights gets more value out of Saga, and Lupo-Knights has Vigil. And yes, I am saying Vigil is better than Matsukiri. You know the sort of person I am. But sure, let's just, for the sake of an argument, pretend S2 in talent doesn't exist, and we're only using him for his S1. This S1 is good, as for a little weight, that's like effectively 14 DP you generated as long as you use your rightmost operator first. That's being your big body, but I must ask why we're building a 5-star for one single purpose when we can build a Wen King who can just like also he's also in a very strong Vanguard subclass, has the same level resource cost, has an S1 with a shorter skill rotation, and also generates more DP, and has a talent and an S2 that isn't locked to 2 specific classes while still being a welfare. Like, I hate standard bears due to how easily they trivialize DP generation just like strategists, but if I'm forced to choose between these two, I'm going to pick the one that gives me the most value in this case, and it also doesn't fit into power creep the Pioneer subclass that I love dearly. Like, honestly, what makes it worse is that Matsukiri is definitely going to get the Wen King treatment the second they make a 4-star strategist, unless they do a botch job of that, like they did with Agents, which I am praying for, because fuck you. Look, I know I am spending a lot of time on an operator, like an unrelated operator to the video topic on hand. But that's because Matsukiri genuinely pisses me off, and it's like 30% wasted potential, 50% pointless Vanguard power creep, and 20% lacking anything genuinely interesting with him. Like, honestly, looking back at the Higashi Summer event lineup, it only had one operator who pushed the boundaries with Hoshi Guma, and that was just updating old Hoshi with a new skill and modern design sense. But after that, you have undertuned wasted potential Kichise, overtuned while defeating the purpose of the class identity of Haruka, and Boring Uninspired only exists so we can have Silver Ash Altar with Matsukiri. Between Windflit and this fucking rant about a stupid dog man, sorry, wolf man, I don't, you know, it's fucking, he's a dog now. I am just filled with just enough salt that I could become a fucking salt pillar at this point. So I'm just gonna like stop and look at my FGO Prelati some more now instead, so I can just calm down and be ready for stainless. Bye.